Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Unman Bhattacharya. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses a large gathering of the Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago, announces OCI cards for 6th generation of people of Indian origin in the country. PM Modi to address joint session of Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago in a special gesture that underscores mutual respect and shared democratic values. US President Donald Trump to sign one big beautiful legislation on the 4th of July after it clears its final hurdle in the House. Trump hails the sweeping tax and spending legislation as one of the most successful pieces of legislation in American history. In Birmingham Test, Shubman Gill's masterful double 100 puts India in the driver's seat against England. Visitors eye early wickets to extend dominance on day 3. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Trinidad and Tobago on the second leg of his 5-nation tour. He will be conferred on Friday with the Order of Trinidad and Tobago, which is the Caribbean nation's highest honor. While addressing a large gathering of the Indian diaspora in T&T, Prime Minister Modi announced OCI cards for 6th generation of people of the Indian origin in the country.
A rousing welcome for Prime Minister Narendra Modi as he landed in Trinidad and Tobago. In a special gesture, Prime Minister was received by Kamla Prasad Bisesar, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, along with the members of her cabinet and several other dignitaries. Prime Minister arrived in Port of Spain on the second leg of his 5-nation tour in Africa and Latin America. Prime Minister was accorded a ceremonial guard of honor and welcomed with special cultural performances. Later, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with his counterpart Kamla Prasad Bisesar, attended the Namaste Modi event, where the two leaders addressed thousands of Indian diaspora members. At the event, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago also announced nation's highest honor to Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Through your benevolence with the vaccines initiative 4 years ago, when COVID-19 pandemic brought the world to its knees, while some other countries were hoarding medical supplies, you, sir, you ensured that vaccines and supplies reach even the smallest nations, including Trinidad and Tobago. Through your benevolence, you brought hope and calm where there was fear. I say again, this was more than diplomacy. This was an act of kinship. This was an act of shared humanity. This was an act of love. And this is one of the many reasons we are deeply proud to bestow upon you, Excellency, the Order of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Addressing the Indian community, Prime Minister Narendra Modi recounted the deep historic and cultural bonds between the two countries. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also announced extension of the OCI cards to 6th generation members of the Indian diaspora. He spoke about decision of mapping of Girmitia community to bring it closer for a bright future.
I am happy to announce that OCI cards will now be given to the 6th generation of the Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago. You are not just connected by blood or surname. You are connected by belonging. India looks out you. India welcomes you. And India embraces you.
Later, Prime Minister Kamla Prasad Bisesar hosted a dinner in honor of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
As Prime Minister Narendra Modi landed in Trinidad and Tobago, the world once again saw Modi brand of diplomacy. From Trinidad and Tobago conferring PM Modi with their highest award to PM Modi reciprocating and extending the OCI card for 6th generation of Indian diaspora in the country. The visit by PM Modi to the Caribbean nation is not only deepening the friendship between the two countries, but also is proving to be a milestone in India's outreach to the global south. With camera person Mohit Oike and Saurabh Shukla, Akshay Dongre, TD India.
Prime Minister Modi also said that India is creating a comprehensive database on the Girmitia community, documenting the villages and cities in India from which their ancestors migrated. In the next report, TD India correspondent Akshay Dongre traces the journey of the Indian diaspora to Trinidad and Tobago.
On May 30th, 1845, the Fatal Razak arrived at Trinidad carrying 225 Indian indentured laborers or Girmitias, the dawn of a transformative chapter in the twin island nation's history. The term Girmit is the Avadi word for the agreement. Girmitia stood for the laborers who came from India on an agreement with the British. Over the next 7 decades, nearly 1,44,000 Indians arrived between 1845 and 1917. They hailed mostly from present-day Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. 1845, Fatal Razak arrives in Trinidad and Tobago with 225 Indians. 1845 to 1917, 1,43,939 indentured laborers landed. 1902, over half of sugarcane farming managed by Indians. 1962, diplomatic ties formalized post-independence. 2025, Indo-Trinidadians and Tobagonians form approximately 42% of the total population. Over past 180 years, the Indian diaspora preserved their culture, built thriving communities, and now stand proudly at the nation's helm, with Indian origin Kamla Prasad Bisesar as its Prime Minister. Clearly, though the Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago had a hard landing on the nation's shores, it has weathered many a storm to emerge at the top of its society.
Primarily, our forefathers came from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, and they brought with them a lot of folk traditions, including their Ramcharitamanas, which is still hugely popular here in Trinidad and Tobago. Our forefathers were simple but profound persons. They were simple in the skills that they came with, but they were very profound in the value system that they came with.
In fact, in his address to the members of Indian diaspora in Port of Spain, Prime Minister also underscored that India would be supporting several initiatives to nurture the Girmitia legacy.
We are actively working on creating a comprehensive database of the Girmitia community, documenting the villages and cities in India from which their ancestors migrated. Identifying the places where they have settled, studying and preserving the legacy of the Girmitia ancestors, and working to organize World Girmitia conferences regularly. This will support the deep and historic ties with our brothers and sisters in Trinidad and Tobago as well.
This year, the Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago is celebrating 180 years of the first indentured laborers landing in the nation. From the first ship across the oceans to the halls of governance, this diaspora has redefined identity and nationhood. Their journey embodies survival, adaptation, and leadership. Akshay Dongre's report from Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago.
Members of the Indian diaspora in Trinidad and Tobago were delighted as Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Caribbean nation. Our correspondent Aditya Srivastav gets us more.
It was so exciting day. We are very closely. We watched. We met Modi ji. It was so memorable day today. Thank you very much.
Modi,
You are very excited. Why?
yes, I feel all my pores raised when he passed next to me. Beautiful. I feel energetic.
Thank you, Modi ji, for gracing us with your splendid presence here in Trinidad today. Thank you again and again.
I was very excited to see him for where he came and where he become now Prime Minister of India. That's really tremendous. And the shoes he wore when he was going to school, he had no shoes. And he used to take the chalk and color his shoes to get it white. That impressed me such a great deal. That is humility. Beautiful.
I was so excited that Prime Minister Modi was coming, and I was so happy that I could meet him at such a close range. I haven't seen him so close. I'm so happy to be here.
Very, very much great. It's such a great guy, great man come to this country. So we welcome him.
Miss World Trinidad and Tobago 2025, Anna Lise Nanton, who represented her country in the beauty pageant held in India recently, lauded Prime Minister Narendra Modi's efforts to understand the connection and the deep cultural roots between the two nations. Listen in.
The way that he speaks, it really just touches your heart and you can't help but listen to him. And he really, really understands the connection, the deep cultural roots that we share with India, Trinidad and Tobago because of our history. And I know that all about the Trinbagonian who are here today, they really connected with him.
Earlier, Prime Minister Modi presented the replica of Ayodhya's Ram Temple, water from the holy Suru river, along with the water from Triveni Sangam to Kamla Irsad Besesar. Prime Minister Modi immersed himself in the rhythm of Bihar's Bhojpuri music, which was performed in Port of Spain. The performance was a powerful reminder of the deep-rooted historical and emotional ties forged with India and the Caribbean region. India, world's largest democracy, stands out globally with 74% of the population satisfied with the country's democracy. A latest report by the Pew Research Center reveals deep dissatisfaction with democracy across many parts of the world, but India comes forth as one major exception. This is one of the highest levels globally. India is one of the nations where people are relatively happy with both democracy and economy. The survey, conducted across 23 countries, found that a median of 58% of adults are unhappy with how democracy is functioning in their nations. Experts attribute India's positive outlook to strong civic engagement, robust economic growth and enduring faith in democratic institutions, even as other nations face political and economic uncertainty. The report further stated that countries such as France, Greece, Japan and South Korea report high dissatisfaction with both their governments and their economies. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Huge explosion in Rome's petrol station, 30 injured. PM Meloni expresses shock. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. US President Donald Trump will sign one big beautiful legislation on the 4th of July after it's cleared the final hurdle in the House, which it has. And President Trump hailed the sweeping tax and spending legislation as one of the most successful pieces of legislation in American history. The bill was narrowly passed by the US Congress, marking a significant boost to his second-term agenda. Our correspondent files this report.
There could be no better birthday present for America than the phenomenal victory we achieved just hours ago when Congress passed the one big, beautiful bill to make America great again.
For a man who once boasted his supporters would get tired of winning, Donald Trump is living up to the promise. His latest triumph is the passage of a sweeping tax and spending bill narrowly approved by Congress in a tight 218 to 214 vote. The sprawling $4.5 trillion package fulfills many of Trump's campaign promises, from increased military spending and funding for mass migrant deportations to extending tax relief measures from his first term.
This bill includes the largest tax cut in American history, the largest spending cut in American history, the largest border security investment in American history, although I must tell you, if you saw last month, they had 0 people coming through our border, 0.
The bill seals Trump's hardline U.S. domestic policy into law, in contrast to the rash of presidential executive orders he signed that can be overturned by his successors. President Trump hailed the bill's passage as a major boost to the U.S. economy, promising it will send America into a rocket ship. After days of tense negotiations and late-night talks, Speaker Mike Johnson managed to unite a fractious Republican House behind the bill, overcoming vocal dissent from within the party.
And we knew that if we won, and we believed we would, we knew that if we got unified government, we'd have to quite literally fix every area of public policy. Everything was an absolute disaster under the Biden-Harris radical, woke, progressive Democrat regime. And we took the best effort that we could in one big, beautiful bill to fix as much of it as we could.
Meanwhile, Democrats led by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries waged a nearly 9-hour speech marathon opposing the legislation, calling it a reckless Republican budget that favors the wealthy at the expense of everyday Americans.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong opposition to Donald Trump's one big, ugly bill. This disgusting abomination, the GOP tax scam, that guts Medicaid, rips food from the mouths of children, seniors, and veterans, and rewards billionaires with massive tax breaks.
Former President Joe Biden echoed these concerns, calling the bill not only reckless, it's cruel. The White House is calling it a hot Trump summer, celebrating a series of wins that have bolstered Trump's standing, including recent progress toward an Iran-Israel ceasefire and a NATO spending deal. But as the president gears up for a reimposition of steep tariffs on dozens of global economies, uncertainty looms in international markets. Trump's winning streak has meanwhile fueled the self-belief of a man who said he had been saved by God to make America great again after he survived an assassination attempt last year. Bureau Report, DD India.
President Donald Trump said that he is planning to start sending letters informing trading partners of their tariff rates as soon as Friday, as negotiations to avoid higher U.S. levies enter the final stretch. His comments come days before steeper duties are set to take effect on dozens of economies customized to each other, ranging from Taiwan to the European Union. These tariffs are part of a broader announcement in April where Trump imposed a 10% duty on goods from almost all trading partners with a plan to step up these rates for a select group within days.
To send a letter out and saying what tariff they're going to be paying.
But he swiftly paused the hikes until the 9th of July, allowing for trade talks to take place. U.S. officials have signaled that there could be a flurry of trade pacts announced in the coming days. In Rome, a huge explosion at a petrol station on Friday injured around 30 people, the vast majority of them lightly, and rattled windows across the Italian capital. Mobile phone footage shared online showed a huge fireball shooting into the sky, followed by black smoke that swept across the Prenestino neighborhood of eastern Rome. The blast happened with a gas leak during a refueling operation and an initial fire. Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni, said she was following the situation. She took on her social media platform X, stating, "I express my closeness to all those who are injured, including law enforcement officers, firefighters and health workers, and I extend my heartfelt thanks to those involved in the rescue and safety operations." India has found its new leader in Test cricket and he's made his arrival unforgettable. Shubman Gill's record-breaking 269 at Edgbaston has not only silenced his critics but also marked the beginning of a bold new era in Indian cricket. A report by DD India correspondent Narayan Singh.
Fearless, focused and phenomenal, Shubman Gill has announced himself as the face of the India's next generation in Test cricket, not with words but with a bat that spoke volumes. At Edgbaston, the young captain crafted a masterclass. His 269 was not just a personal milestone, it was a defining moment for Indian cricket. Gill's innings is now the highest by an Indian captain in Test history. He surpassed Virat Kohli's unbeaten 254 against South Africa in Pune in 2019. It's also the highest Test score by an Indian batter outside Asia. He broke Sachin Tendulkar's record of 241 at the Sydney Cricket Ground in 2004. He now stands third on the list of India's highest away Test scores behind Sehwag's 309 and Dravid's 270, both in Pakistan in 2004. In England, only two other Indians had ever scored a double century in Test cricket. Gavaskar's 221 in 1979 and Dravid's 217 in 2002, both at the Oval. Gill joins that elite list and with style. When he was made captain, critics questioned his numbers. Doubts were raised about his ability to perform overseas. But Gill let his bat do the talking. He has taken charge at number 4, the most challenging position in the Test cricket, and he owned it. More than a great innings, this was a statement, the start of a new legacy. Shubman Gill has not just stamped his authority, he has laid the foundation of India's Gen Next, bold, composed and ready to conquer. A leader is born, a new journey begins.
That's it in this edition of DD India Live. Namaskar.